everyone, welcome to my studio. I'm Joanne Simmons, the owner and creator at Silver Sculptor. You're here in my studio in downtown Jersey City. And before we get started, I just want to describe myself. I am a white woman with short grey hair, and I'm currently wearing a J-Cast t-shirt and one of my necklaces from my Pebble collection, which I launched this year. And I also just want to say a shout out to all the interpreters that have been doing a great job this weekend. So let's get started because we haven't got much time. I'm going to just take you around my studio and show you some of the tools that I use and how I make some pieces of jewellery. So I will use various different ways to make jewellery, one of which is using sheet silver. Silver is my preferred metal to use, and also silver wire. So that's one way I'll make jewellery. Another way is to use wax and to carve pieces using the wax. This piece here is one of the pieces that I made using this wax carving process. Once a wax or a piece of metal has been made into a piece of jewellery, I will then use the lost wax casting process, which makes a mould out of the piece, out of the model. Wax is then shot through the silicone mould here, and you get your piece of jewellery in wax form. This wax is then placed into a flask, and investment is poured into the flask. And then once the investment is like a plaster of Paris. And once the plaster of Paris or the investment is dried, the wax is then melted out and you're left then with a cavity. Then silver metal or gold or whatever kind of metal you're using is poured into the flask. And then once that's cooled, you're left with your piece of jewellery in whatever metal you've chosen. As you can see here, you've got the, this is called a sprue, which is what you see here. And this is where the metal goes through. So once you've got this, you then need to take these sprues off. So I'll show you how I do that. Over here is my little bench with my bench pin, and I will just saw off these sprues using my, my jeweler's saw and using my bench just like this. I will then use my flex shaft just to get rid of any jaggedy bits and so that it's ready to then be polished. Also over here is where, so this is a piece here you can see where it's been polished and the sprues have been removed. Also over here is where I set pieces. So here, for example, is an earring that I've set with a peridot. And I use my little microscope here that I have, which was a little gift to myself this year. I've taken the slow time this current year that we've had to learn some new techniques. And one of the techniques is setting using a flush set, which is what this is. So over here, once we've got the piece ready, if it needs to be soldered, so it could be a pair of earrings that need posts soldered to it, or a pair of cufflinks that need the back soldered. So like this is a pair of, or a cufflink. I'll then, using my solder and my flux, I will solder the two pieces together and using my little torch here. As you can see, it kind of goes a darker colour, and we need to remove that before we can move on. So I'll use my pickle, which is like an acid bath. So it goes in here and it will come out like this, which is kind of like a whitish, but you can see all of the markings and the darker colour has been removed. Once we've come out of that stage, it will then go into my tumbler. So I'll use two different types of shot for my tumbler, and then this just moves around. I'll use steel shot like this, which gives it a kind of a shiny finish. And then I'll also use this, which is a ceramic shot, which will give the pieces a matte finish, like the necklace that I'm wearing right now. So this would be a matte finish, and then you can see it compared to a shiny finish here. If a piece needs to be polished and have the shiny finish, I'll then come over here and use my polishing machine. I'm just going to turn it on quickly, but it's loud, so I'll take a piece and then I'll just polish it here. Also over here is where I keep all of my metals. So I've got my sheet metal and my wire here. This is just some examples. That's where I keep that over here. And then this is my kiln. So my kiln I use for fusing glass, and I can use it for enameling as well. But what I mostly use it for is the precious metal clay, which is a clay form with silver particles in it. And you can, as you can see, you can move it around, model it into any shape that you like. Once it's dry, you then put it into the kiln and put it onto a very high temperature and for about half an hour, and it comes out like this, which is metal. It's fine silver. It's a pretty magical piece of clay that comes out like metal. It's all science, it's great. All right, over here is where I keep my gemstones, and also where I take photographs for pieces that I will then list. So over here is some cabochons. Here you've got a really nice amethyst slice, which will make a really beautiful piece of jewellery. I've got some dendritic opals here, some raw moonstones. I don't know if you can see that shine there, but it's beautiful. And then over here are some faceted stones. So that would be what I would use for the flush setting, which I showed you earlier. So we've got some garnets here, which is the birthstone for January. We've got some moonstones here. And yeah, so that's that part. And then over here we have my kind of setup for where I do all my kind of admin and marketing work. And I've got some finished pieces here to show you. This is a nice, beautiful silver neck piece using a dendritic opal, which I just showed you. I've got a statement piece here, which is from my cube collection, which I launched 2 years ago. And this is from one of my first collections that I made, which is from the aquatic collection. Also here, we have some beautiful silver rings. And then this is like the one that I showed you earlier, which can be engraved. And then this also, similar to the one that I showed you earlier, which is from the, inspired by Mondrian. And that's it, basically. Thank you for joining me. It was really nice to be able to open my studio to share my processes with you. And I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Thank you.
You can find me on Instagram at Silver Sculptor, and also on my website, which is thesilversculptor.com.